Welcome back to Dawn Hunters. My name is Yana.
And I'm Captain William. We have gone from a trawler to a steel monohull to a fiberglass catamaran.
And now, after 7 years of living aboard, we finally have our dream boat.
Our new aluminium catamaran is being refitted for off-grid use.
Make sure you check our last 2 episodes on batteries and solar.
And also, if you want to see what this boat looked like before we tore it all to pieces, make sure you look at the boat tour
a while back. And in this episode, we focus on the pretty stuff to make this boat more like home.
Guys, finally we are moving into the pretty stuff on the boat, but it also makes all this hard work look correct. At the same time, before the ceiling gets finished here, I need to do all the electrical wire and pre-wiring. I'm going to add a couple more wire channels from the port side to the stern of the boat, so later on if I've got to move things around. So let's take a look at this multitude of goodies. So all the insulation has to come down in these wire tracks, then put in conduit so I can keep that separated for the aluminium and running separate channels for different items. At the same time I'm going to run that spare. So this is the insulation coming down. I was wondering about how to run the solar panel wiring. Well, there's already holes in the upper decks.
Imagine, guys, the other day we went to remove the kayak mounts. We've discovered that their attachments were actually drilled through the hull.
So I'm going to run channels inside underneath the deck and then be able to pull those wires and terminate them. So I'll always have terminations on the boat as I upgrade or change the solar panels. So that problem has been solved by fixing this problem. I'm starting to build the cabinet boxes, installing the sink, the cooktop, refrigerator, dishwasher, appliances, daybed I call it. Down below on the port and starboard we have finished the ceilings and the walls, and those have been installed.
I'm so excited about this galley, my workspace. And because I wanted this beautiful, spacious galley, William told me that I have to build it. There's going to be a huge sink with the cutting surface, 2 fridges, dishwasher, and this window opens to serve the food outside.
This port side is where we are building all the cabinets. Bathroom, toilet, shower are all on the very front. So the front shower, bathroom, and sink will be actually where this doorway is. We'll be moving the gray water tank as well to that location and the black water tank. So we'll be able to either vacuum that out or pump out gray water, or the shower water I should call it. The holding tank is for the black water. So that's all going to be more midsection of the vessel, so that the water tank and the fuel tank, where it currently is above the keel, has remained. But that's the area where on the floor I have added a piece of acrylic and a light so I can actually check the bilge, see what's going on, because all the water from both sides of the hulls on port and starboard goes into actually a bilge water hole. So this is a cast acrylic hatch. By adding this, I'll be able to check what's going on in the bilge with a flip of a switch. Illuminate it, we'll be able to see what's going on with the bilge pump, water pump, and also the pump out for the shower. It's all located in this area. So we will not have to be saying, hey, let's go check, raise a hatch, get a flashlight, see what's going on. So this is going to be installed both in the port and starboard side. So this is the starboard side forward cabin. It was a very dark, small, dingy cabin. No port light, no way to get out if there was an issue or a fire. So now we have the correct exit. We have framed all the way around with square. The walls are now completed with the teak, which will be painted white, and the ceiling white. And the same thing with the port holes all the way along the side. So we're ready to start rolling some paint onto this. It'll be rolled so that we have the brush marks. This has been in 2.5 weeks, including the floors. So in under a month, both port and starboard hulls are really flying along.
This is so nice. Come in. This is gonna be so amazing. It's already amazing. So this is special marine teak plywood that they did the strips inside. They cut them with a router, so it looks like they're actual wood strips, but in fact they're bigger pieces of plywood like you saw in our previous videos, and then they brush painted it with white. We wanted something light because the halls are pretty narrow, so it doesn't feel boxy. And I think we're succeeding. William designed this overhang, so the lights are going to be inside, reseated, so you're not going to see them, but they're going to light up the whole cabin. I think it's going to look very nice.
Now that the walls and ceilings are up, we can start doing the cutting and the detail work, because each porthole will have a solid teak frame that will be stained. And you know what's surprising is that the only room that we didn't touch in this whole boat is this master salon. Well, I'm going to call it the master salmon because it's about that small. Come take a look how bright and airy this room now is compared to what it was. The other thing is you're going to notice that all the floors are covered, and they're covered because the solid teak flooring is complete throughout the whole boat. What we did is we picked all of the unwanted teak, which means that normally people are trying to match the teak so they have the grains looking the right way and the right colors and everything else. Well, we wanted just the opposite. We wanted young teak that came from a plantation, but we wanted all the cutoffs so the floor doesn't match. Every piece is different, every piece has a different grain to it, and every piece has a different color to it.
We used a lot of the cutoffs from the floor and made this paneling. So we really like the look of the young teak because it does have more grain to it. This is already starting to look like a final product. And also here, this is so pretty and smells amazing. Like a wood plantation here right now.
Pretty unique in that we utilized all of the pieces that we made into sawdust or plywood on the boat. I've redesigned all the electrical and the plumbing and moved it all from the outsides of the hull and from the ceiling all to the inner sides of the hull. So behind the cabinets I'll have full access anytime I need to get to it. Also remove all the old lighting and switches, so the lighting is all very low temperature LEDs that are variable light, so that we don't have the heat, we don't have the power consumption. And I'm running the LEDs on two different banks, on one battery bank and a secondary battery bank on two different strips. So if we have dead batteries, as we've had in the past, we don't have to be digging all over for a flashlight.
You can see here we did again the teak strips with painted white ceilings and walls, and then the same young teak floor. Then we installed a porthole behind me, and this cabin is going to be mostly for the storage.
And guys, aside from all of the reasons why we loved this boat and we stepped on it, which you can see in a lot of past videos, I got the ability to build my own workshop and tool room instead of this master salon that used to be here. This is a work in progress. It's probably going to be the last thing on the boat to be finished, but it's where all the real work happens. If you have some ideas about how I can manage the storage of parts, nuts, bolts, different things you think I can jam into this room, send me a comment below, because this is the man cave.
And knowing William, this room never going to be finished. It's all going to be work in progress forever.
She's probably right.
Looks like a man cave, smells like a man cave, gonna remain a man cave. I'm getting out of here.
Huge advantage of a catamaran when it's on the hard is that this has been our workshop. So all the cutting of the aluminum, all the cutting of the wood, the trim work, the flooring, everything is done outside. Sawdust is vacuumed every night, and then we bring the items up above. Maybe I'm doing 30 floors a day going up and down this ladder. In the heat, this is better than any gym workout. So the daybed frame is completely welded, reinforced. Now to cut the top, this will be hinged, so it's going to allow us to open the daybed and have storage for pots, pans, and other goods that are actually going to be used in the galley. Hiding in one corner will be the new air conditioning unit, so I have very easy access if I have to clean a filter or do something with it. I think I welded back when I was in 18, 19, back in welding school, and then messed around with welding on Dawn Hunter 1, which was steel. And now having aluminum boat, I figured I have to learn how to weld aluminum, which is, with a spool gun, you can use actually MIG process, and it's not too bad using like a 4043, but it's not super strong. So the only way to really do proper welding of aluminum is to use a TIG setup, of which I have been practicing thanks to YouTube and some other channels. I've been able to get proficient, the welds are strong, and so now I'm welding together the day bed so it can tilt up. We can gain access for storage, and I'll be welding in the lower bulkhead support tubes that I'll be welding and then using the walls with. I'll be using this technique. Don't know if I'm going to tackle welding the dinghy back together because I'd hate to see it split in half when we're out somewhere by an island. But who knows, maybe I'll get good enough. So from welding now to woodwork. I went and looked at a couple of the KM expedition yachts and fell in love with that type of cabinetry. And so we've taken everything on the boat that was rounded. We've upgraded it all to what we actually prefer, which is everything is square and blocks. Not sharp edges, but 90-degree angles so that it fits the design of the exterior of the hull. So this is an example of what you get when you take two pieces of teak together. And as far as weight, natural teak, once it's kiln dried, is actually lighter than aluminum. The other advantage when you study wood and why the old boats utilize teak is because
don't eat our furniture.
Although I could probably bite it, but termites do not eat teak. The oil inside of it repels bugs and termites, so you do not have to worry about solid teak being chewed apart. And the marine wood utilizes teak and epoxy resins, so we will not have to be doing constant bug flogging, especially here in Thailand.
I wonder how this board gonna look like when it's stained, because we don't have a stain, I can't see it. However, I went there and asked William and he said lick it and that's gonna be the color. I mean, I guess we can try. So supposedly this is how the stained teak gonna look like. I don't know if I believe this.
And if you're wondering what I look like when I get stained, you can do the same technique. Back to work. The daybed is finished. Now I'm going to be mounting the hinge system because we'll be able to raise this up, and also we'll be able to slide out these two bars and the third one in the center that will then extend the bed if we really want to sleep on it. And we're just kind of hanging out. We keep it smaller so it's not going to be in the way of going between wheelhouse and the galley. You know, you don't need to have a bunch of fancy tools and equipment when you're building cabinet. You can have a handsaw, skill saw, you can build yourself some jigs. Also, we've been repurposing some of the wood that was on the boat because it's not bad. There's nothing really wrong with it. But for supports, cabinetry, and back of cabinets, it's fantastic. So we're not throwing all of the good things away, we're just putting it in a different place. For the last 2.5 weeks I've been building the galley cabinets, and normally you build the boxes like down below the boat, you bring it inside and then you install them, which works okay for some areas, but where you've got corners and angles and nothing straight, and you have appliances like the double drawer refrigerator and the dishwasher here, I've had to build around that because at the same time we have a day bed upstairs that doubles as a bed or a sofa. I'm building storage for our pantry. Looked at all the different lightweight materials, looked at the PVC board and other things, and because I grew up, my father as an architect and a carpenter, I worked a lot with woodworking tools, so I feel more comfortable using a lot thinner multi-ply marine wood, glues and screws, knowing that this is not going to go anywhere if we end up either smashing against it or the boat hits ground somewhere. I've seen videos where cabinets and things have just flown across the cabin. That's not going to happen here. Glue, screws, using the actually caulk gun and gluing every joint and putting screws, holding in place with staples, gives me a really strong bond. And I know that whatever we encounter, these guys are going to stay here even if the boat is upside down. After the boxes are finished, then I'll make teak frames, and the frames will mount on the front, which also has the hardware for the doors and the door and drawers in this case. So it's been a little bit of a planning stage, a lot on the computer and discussion and talking based on our 7 years of living aboard. And then actually building it inside the boat needs modification as you fly along. So table saw and skill saw and hand tools, and you can get this done pretty damn quick. For those guys out there or gals that are either outfitting vans or motorhomes or cabins or boats, what kind of material have you been using and what kind of experience? Because I think the materials have really changed, in some cases gotten lighter and maybe even stronger. The problem is I just couldn't find the right bonding material that I could feel comfortable, because all the tests I did, I would come along the next day and apply a little bit of pressure and the joint snap. And I do not want to be doing this or fixing things after we've hit some really rough seas. So give me some ideas if you guys are using something else out there. So I estimate it's going to take me another week to finish all the cabinetry, the boxes, the bed, the coffee bar, and then I can start measuring for the countertop, which is going to be stainless steel, actually brushed stainless steel. It's not very heavy. It's not like marble, granite, or corian. And if you do scratch it or something happens, you can take an 80 grit and send the scratch back out again. So it's going to be more, I guess, looking like a restaurant or industrial kitchen than your fancy pants boat, I guess. So now I continue on to the galley cabinets and finish off the detail work. In analyzing materials, cost, machinability, looks, using 7mm teak cutoffs, and then using a router for putting the grooves, we end up with a very rich looking interior, yet still light. Because it's young teak, the bugs and insects don't attack it because of the really heavy oils. These little guys are then glued with epoxy onto a backboard. Each area now has that as its finish out, with marine plywood behind for strength and durability. By using the cutoffs also for the flooring and a variation of stain, we'll have actually a variation of looks, feels of the natural wood. The baseboard to the cabinets will be made out of this brushed aluminum material, and the countertops we're using out of very thin stainless steel that I will epoxy to the marine plywood. So we're going to have that type of a look with the natural wood mixed with the aluminum mixed with stainless. As I continue the cabinet work in the galley, it's become evident that there is not a straight line on a boat. I've known that for years. I was thinking maybe this would be a little different, but the shape of the hull, the curve, the angles, and even when you're trying to use a level, you have to make sure that the boat is level, because otherwise, what are you leveling to? Built a subframe completely around where the cooktop will go, because they do dissipate some heat underneath. And because of that, I raised this section up. Also, I've angled it and made it so that it's like a 1 degree to the front, so anything should spill or run over, it's going to run off the stainless steel countertop to the front of the boat, provided that we're sitting on a flat area, which is rare. At the same time, I integrated side cabinet and the sink cabinet all as one box unit, so they're extremely strong, because if we're hitting or bumping into something, the last thing we want to do is break a piece of cabinetry loose. So I'm using the screws, glue, and at the same time I'm using liquid nails similar to hold everything down. That way it's strong, it has some tiny flexibility if needed. The galley is going to have all stainless steel countertops. The sink right now has been built into this section. We're going to have a very large diameter drain that goes straight out the bottom of the boat. So instead of always separating food, dumping it overboard, we'll be able to go right down in the drain in the sink. The ceiling is completely finished with the insulation, new wires all running, wires for solar, and the cross slats so we have a good strong support. So today we're going to put the ceiling up because we organized it, laid it all out, put it in perfect position, then took it all down and sent it off to a paint shop so it could be painted with a brush, and now it's going to come back again. And today we do the install. So what you see now, which is around 1 o'clock, by tomorrow morning the whole ceiling is going to be placed and finished. And by designing correctly, I've saved a ton of electrical wiring, running switches, different variables. So using an extruded aluminum for ceiling lighting, these are going to be embedded on each sheet where the ceiling came together, and then inside I'll be using the LED strip that gets glued with double-sided tape to the inside of this track, and then on the outside of the track there'll be a cover. So essentially all of the wires for the whole salon run all the way to the back of the ship over to one side of a switch bank. So I don't have wires going from location to location, cutouts in the insulation, something hidden, so if I've got a problem, I can pull the strip down and replace it. If you look at the specs of the LEDs that you buy in the stores for commercial use, they normally have a step-down transformer and a little DC transformer, a power supply that then provides voltage to the LED. So if you go look really close at the LED strip, you can find them in 12 and 24 volt. In this case, the boat's 24 volt, so there's no need for step-down transformers, isolation, or power supplies. Direct voltage to the LED strip, which really saves in complexity and wiring again. And like that, everything is painted white, installed back in place. Sliders, now I'm in the process of designing for the, overhead glass, and then deciding on which type of LED extrusions to use, because there's different versions, but they all have a standard gap. So when I designed the ceiling, I designed the gaps to be able to accommodate different things. The advantage here is the LEDs all start from one location, all go all the way to the front, and the opposite ones go from the front to the back. So depending on wherever we turn the switches on, we can control how many lights, the brightness, and even the color. Now to start designing the countertops that are going to be made out of a fiberboard, so they're extremely light, and then I'll be able to epoxy the stainless steel after it's all welded on top of that fiberboard. So the fiberboard is going to be the pattern. I've got all the boxes completed for the galley coffee bar area. We're going to be using stainless steel for the countertops, and in order to maintain my consideration of weight is I am using for the bulkheads, the walls, the shelving down in the cabins, and the underlayment for the countertops, I'm using this Amicel structural core material. It's the same as what's used inside of boat building. So it's very strong, it's flexible, it provides insulation, and by putting a layer of fiberglass on one side or both sides, you really increase the structure, but you have almost as light as air. So using these materials in various places on the boat, I've been able to compensate for the weight of the teak and taking all the other things off the boat that weren't really needed. We should be pretty close to where we were when we started, just building smarter with different types of materials available today. So now I have to decide what probably is going to work the best electrically, and then Jana's got to come here and say this is what I like, aesthetically, because as an engineer we don't really look at aesthetics, we look at maybe the least path of resistance. Let me show you what these extrusions look like and how LEDs have changed the lighting industry, because we're running everything on 24 volt. The LEDs are 24 volt, no transformers, no power supplies, directly off the battery, which is the whole mission here, is to reduce all the additional heat when you have large inverters and you're converting from AC to DC, generator to DC, back and forth. So this is a 90% DC boat. This one hangs down a little bit and fills the gap from the differences in the height. This one is wider, so it accommodates the width inside, but then gives kind of a flush on the outside. You know, they won't even be seen at all unless the lights are on. They just kind of blend into the ceiling, which was, aluminum and white was kind of the idea. I've got aluminum tracks over here that are going to be running for sliding and opening and closing the sunlight coming in to reduce the heat. Well, Gotta get Yana here so she can decide which ones we go with because I've got a sample of each. The LEDs are 24 volt, comes with adhesive already on the back, attach them, wire them on the back, and now you've got a complete light running from the stern of the boat to the bow of the boat. And then you can control how much brightness you want. It's important to go with the ones that are already enclosed, and the reason for that is you don't have a problem with the electrodes touching the aluminum. The other ones that are a little bit less money don't have this covering around them, and you can get one of the electrodes on the side either shorting or hitting the aluminum. So this is a much safer way to go. And a huge shout out to Kuntai for all the woodwork, her workers and the craftsmanship. This is the best I've seen, and I've seen a lot of woodwork around the world. These guys are craftsmen. So if you need any work done in Thailand, from teak decking to flooring, they are aces.
Well, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
And
am I supposed to do something?
wash my hair. This is not a hair cutting station. Actually, I just cut the hole for the sink in the coffee bar. And we're almost past the sawdust stage and now into making things even prettier.
No, now we are into making things less sweaty. Make sure you check the episode next.
Make sure you check the next episode where Yana is actually working on the shower.
You just spoiled it all. Guys, check out the shower episode. I was going to be mysterious about it.
Well, we have plenty of off-grid showers, so now we have an on the hard shower.
Yes, shower on the hard.
Like, subscribe, push the button. Let's get to 100,000 subscribers on this channel.
Yes, with a hard shower.
Hard shower.
Shower for the hard. Actually, write down in the comments the title for the next video.
Yeah.
Shower for the hard, shower on the hard.
Hard in the shower.
We want those suggestions for the next video title of the shower video down below.